Okay, so I'd like to make a review of a film, at least partly a review and partly a discussion about, not a discussion, I guess, because it's just me talking, but a reflection on the issues raised in the film. This is not a film I've seen in the cinema, this is a film I've bought on DVD, and the film is this, Metro Manila. I bought this for my birthday because I've been intrigued in it for a while. I like watching foreign language films. But actually, it's a British film. It's a British director, Sean Ellis. It was produced also by Sean Ellis and Matilde Charpentier, and it's described as a British-Filipino joint production. Had a very low budget, about 2 hours long. The production company is Chocolate Frog Films, distributed by Independent UK, Haute Core France, Captive in the Philippines, Festival in Spain. It's billed as a 2013 film, but it was largely shot in 2011 on location in the Philippines. Um, Before I go ahead with the review and the synopsis, I should say that inevitably I'm going to give a bit of a few spoilers in this. So if you haven't seen the film and you don't want too much to be given away, then maybe you should stop watching this video. Um, but I'm going to try not to give too much away. So if you haven't seen it, then maybe what I'll be saying won't necessarily be a huge giveaway. Anyway, Metro Manila is, I have to say, it's more or less along the lines of what I thought would be. It was a very powerful and moving film. It's not an easy film to watch, and I cannot say this is a feel-good film. Basically, to give the synopsis, it's about a young family who come from a rural parts of Luzon. I forget the name of the area now, but it's well known for its rice paddies. Anyway, it's a rural area of Luzon Island, and they fall on hard times basically, and they have to go to Metro Manila, which, if you don't know, is one of the world's biggest cities. That's one thing I liked about the film, the fact they called it Metro Manila as opposed to just Manila. The reason being, I'm very interested in urban demographics, and actually, Metro Manila encompasses the entire metropolitan area. That's Manila, Quezon City, Makati City. It's one of the world's most built up metropolitan areas. So Manila itself is much smaller, but Metro Manila is a way the city is increasingly described because that is just one continuous urban mass. Quezon City is actually bigger than Manila, but it's classed as the Metro Manila metropolis. So we could say Metro Manila itself is the mega city. Huge place, anywhere from 13 to 20 million people, depending on how you look at it. So it's one of the world's biggest cities. I'll come to that in a minute. There is a reason why I'm mentioning that actually. But basically, this young family go to Manila. They're quite innocent, maybe slightly naive, um, but these are people who are basically in a very difficult situation. So they go to the city in a situation that can be echoed around the world for opportunity. On the first day arriving, I guess it's at the main bus interchange, the father is approached by a guy who seems to be friendly. He gets him into an apartment. Um, and the sort of backdrop to this is the little girl has a serious toothache, so obviously she's very uncomfortable. Anyway, they go to this apartment only to find out the next day they've been duped because this guy is crooked and the apartment is being let illegally, so they're kicked out by the bailiffs, I guess you would say. Meanwhile, the father is obviously trying to get work. Um, he ends up as a security man. Um, and in Manila, you get the impression that this is a very dangerous job. They constantly have to go up against armed gangs, um, and their beat seems to be in pretty rough neighborhoods. This is, and we're not talking about kids with knives. We're talking about serious criminals with AK-47s. Um, so it's a dangerous job. And at first, they don't take him very seriously. They're, oh, you're a farmer from the provinces. So he only gets a job because his superior kind of puts trust in him. And initially, you think this guy is, you sort of think that the family's finally getting a break, that this guy is someone they can trust, and he kind of befriends his boss, his immediate supervisor, and the two men become close. But meanwhile, the guy's wife, I should, by the way, credit the actors in this. The guy is played by um, Jake Macapagal, plays Oscar Ramirez. Althea Vega plays Mai Ramirez. John Arquilla plays Ong, who is the guy's boss. Um, and I've actually seen some extras in the film. John Arquilla, who plays the guy's boss, says Arcilla, Arquilla. I'm afraid I'm not so sure how to pronounce that, but he basically says he appreciates the angle this film took with the Philippines. Anyway, I'll get to that in a minute. Finish the synopsis first. So, okay, basically, the wife then feels that she also needs to find some way to make money. She ends up becoming a sex worker, basically, which is something I kind of predicted looking at the. I mean, I would say that the synopsis isn't that surprising if you've seen the trailer and you see the sort of concept of the film. That the themes that is covered are not. I wouldn't say they're massively surprising. So I kind of guessed that there would be a gritty storyline like that. Um, and yeah, these you get the impression these are people that are really facing a hard time. Um, so the wife is in this really seedy job that she obviously doesn't want to do. The husband, you get the impression he's in a slightly better position, but then throughout the course of the film, you find that just as he gets closer and closer to the guy, and he's duped as well, basically, and the guy he's working with turns out to be a bit crooked himself. So it's just one thing after another in this film. It's not an easygoing film. Um, Basically, the film then has a twist at the end, and that is the bit that I'm not going to say because I think it is worth watching this film to see what the twist is. But let's just say it is a tragic ending, and it's set against a backdrop to another story to which the main character, the family man, sort of narrates. Jake Capagal kind of narrates in the background. That's a backdrop and an echo of his own experience, his character's own experience, I should say. Um, so that's it basically. It's about just under 2 hours. It's a very powerful film. I'm pleased I invested money in this. To buy foreign films in the UK, especially if you buy them in HMV, are quite expensive, but I'm pleased I spent money in this. Looking at comments on the YouTube trailer, there tends to be positive feedback from Filipinos. The consensus seems to be positive, bearing in mind this was a film made by a British filmmaker. Um, the actress, Alfia Vega, she has said she appreciated working with a British director. She said primarily because he showed real sensitivity in working with Filipino people. Obviously, as a foreign director, you need to show sensitivity to the country that you're working in terms of understanding the culture, in terms of understanding all aspects of it. So, for example, he focused on the religious aspect, which is a very big part of life in the Philippines. Um, in terms of the themes, it it's not an easy film to watch. And like I said, some of it is there's some scenes that are really hard going, and there is so many despicable people in this film who are just basically parasites. They see this family are vulnerable and they feed off them. And it isn't even a gender issue. This is both men and women that do this. For example, in the so-called aquarium that the young woman works in, the mama-san or whatever you want to call her is utterly heartless. There's one scene, and for me, it's one of the hardest parts of the film when she says, "How old is your daughter?" And the woman is like 9, and she's like, "Okay, well, if you want to work here, she's going to have to work as well." You get the impression she's basically trying to get the little girl into the sex trade as well, and it's utterly stomach churning. But the fact is, this is mirror echoing real life. This happens in the real world, and it's not a documentary film, but it could be. because it echoes things that really do happen in the real world. This is not a feel-good film. It's not the sort of film that you can really relax to. But if, like me, you like or you appreciate eye-opening films, this is definitely a powerful film. Um, like I say, there's a lot of seedy characters in the film and a lot of despicable lowlifes, but there is also, I mean, the family are presented as being very likable people. They're quite devout. Um, they obviously love one another. The husband and wife are clearly devoted to each other and to the little girl, so they're a very likable family. Um, in the end of the film, like I say, there's twists. I'm not going to say what it is, but the father is driven to desperate measures, and it is tragic. The film is set in Metro Manila, but in all honesty, it could equally be set in Jakarta or Dhaka or Sao Paulo or pretty much any major city in the world. In particular in developing countries where dire poverty does push people to these measures. Um, so I'm not going to say too much more about the synopsis. As a film, it's an eye opener. Obviously, it is a film. These are fictional characters, but it is based on things that really do happen, and it's heartbreaking to know this. Utterly heartbreaking. Um, it's the sort of film though that can inspire action. I mean, after watching this, I want to go and find charities that work with this sort of thing and just. But I think it also reveals some other things. It shows that very often people are driven to desperate measures, and very few things in this world are black and white. I don't want to give away the twist at the end of the film, but let's just say that sometimes, especially in parts of the world where opportunities are not necessarily always there, sometimes people have to choose between a bad option or a terrible option. And it's heartbreaking that so many people in this world face this situation. Watching this, I feel guilt would be the wrong word because I'm not personally responsible, but it kind of reminds me that any problems that I face are minuscule compared to what some people face in this world. I mean, I've had my problems, but coming from a developed nation, they do pale into insignificance. And I'm not saying that people don't have problems in developed countries as well, because they do. And probably you can find exploitation in developed countries as well. But I think it is in situations where there are more people in a desperate situation. I think it is multiplied the the chances of this happening. Um, I think that this is a film that I would say be prepared. It's not an easy film to watch. Um, I'm not saying it's the heaviest film I've ever watched, but it is quite hard going in some scenes. So this is it, Metro Manila. Incidentally, and not surprisingly, it's won numerous awards despite having a low budget. It's won the Best British Independent Film, Best Director at the British Independent Film Awards, Best Achievement in Production, Most Promising Newcomer. This is all in the British Film Awards. Obviously, this is a low budget film. This isn't a big Hollywood film, but it's a very powerful film. And in terms of leaving aside the synopsis, the actual filmography is very powerful in itself. The sort of shooting, the music, the background. There's one scene that stands out as well, and in the Exorcist they said if that scene hadn't worked, then the film wouldn't have worked. And this isn't giving anything away from what I've already said. Basically, the man Oscar Ramirez, the sort of main actor, is with he's invited for the boys' night out with his colleagues, and they are what we would call in the UK Jack the lads. They kind of drink and they have lots of women and that sort of thing. In fact, his immediate superior is quite a different personality. He has a mistress on the side and this sort of thing. Whereas Oscar's character is quite like I say, they're a devout family. He's very loyal to his wife. Um, he doesn't drink. He's not used to it anyway. So he's trying to blend in with his colleagues. He doesn't like. Obviously, he's aware that his supervisor's doing a lot of favors for him. If you see the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's a very powerful scene because it's kind of interspersed with what his wife is having to do with basically selling her body. And it's a very moving scene because you see both these young people are pushed to doing something that they really it's very hard to watch. Um, she's selling her body, he's risking his life, and being made to basically fit into a situation where he clearly doesn't feel comfortable. Um, and then the tragic thing is the fact they have a little girl as well. Um, so anyway, that's Metro Manila. It's a very powerful film. It is an eye opener. I already had some notion of the sort of themes that were covered in this, but nevertheless, it's the sort of thing that does get you thinking about it. So if you get a chance to see Metro Manila, I strongly recommend it. Any Filipino, excuse me, any Filipino viewers, if you've seen the film, what do you make of it? Do you think this is a fair depiction of some of the problems that are ongoing? Like I say, it's set in Metro Manila, but this could equally be set in any other big metropolis in the world. Um, okay, so let me know your thoughts. Incidentally, I don't think it. I mean, one of the actors said he didn't want it to portray his city in a bad light. Inevitably, the film covers some very seedy subjects, so it does present Manila as a tough city to be in. But it's not entirely negative. You see humanity in this film. You see positive aspects as well coming through. Although I can't say that it's a film with a happy ending. And again, I'm being very careful here not to give away the twist at the end. But anyway, that's it. Metro Manila, directed by Sean Ellis. Let me know your thoughts.